Good day, everyone. So this time we will be discussing our topic, which is all about clause. So what is a clause? What is a clause in a sentence? So these three definitions will satisfy a clause. So when we say clause, it is a group of words. It has subject and verb combination, and it has a complete meaning by itself. For example, I graduated last year. When I came here, I saw him. When I came here, I saw him and he greeted me. So in the first sentence, that is only one clause sentence. It is a clause because it satisfies the three definitions. So it is a group of words, it has a subject and a verb, and it has a complete meaning. The second sentence is a two-clause sentence because the first clause has subject and verb combination, and so with the second clause. The third one is a three-clause sentence. When I came here, I saw him, and he greeted me, satisfies the definition of a clause. But to further understand what a clause is, let us discuss the types of clauses. So we have 5 types of clauses. The first of these are the independent clause and dependent clause. And under dependent clause, we have adjective clause, noun clause, and adverbial clause. We also have principal clause, coordinate clause, and non-finite clause. So let us discuss this individually. So when we say independent clause, it functions on its own to make meaningful sentence and looks much like a regular sentence. So in a sentence, two independent clauses can be connected by the coordinators for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. So to memorize these coordinators, let us take the acronym FANBOYS. Stands for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. For example, he is a wise man. I like him. Can you do it? Do it, please. And I read the whole story. So the first sentence, he is a wise man, is an independent clause because it has a complete meaning. And so with the second sentence, the third sentence, the fourth sentence, and the last sentence. But in the fourth sentence, if you notice, the subject you is hidden, but still, it has a complete meaning. So the fourth sentence is still an independent clause. So let us continue on examples. We have these 3 sentences. I want to buy a phone, but I don't have enough money. He went to London and visited the Lords. Alex smiles whenever he sees her. So in the first sentence, can you predict how many clauses we have? So going back to the definition, in a sentence, 2 independent clauses can be connected by the coordinators for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. So let's see. In the first sentence, I want to buy a phone, but I don't have enough money, which among the coordinators has been used. It is the coordinator but. And if you take a look at the first clause, I want to buy a phone, so does it have a complete meaning? So I want to buy a phone means it is an independent clause. So how about the clause, I don't have enough money? Does it still have a complete meaning? Okay, so yes, that is still an independent clause. So we have 2 independent clauses. The next sentence, He went to London and visited the Lords. The coordinator that has been used in this sentence is and. And if we take a look at the clause he went to London, it has a complete meaning. And so with visited the Lords. Although it has no subject indicated in this clause, the subject of the second clause is he, so he visited the Lord is still an independent clause. The subject he is just been hidden in this clause. So still we have two independent clauses. The last one, we have Alex smiles whenever he sees her. Alex smiles has a complete meaning. And remember, whenever is not included to the coordinators that we have discussed earlier. Meaning, whenever he sees her is not an independent clause. So we only have one independent clause in this sentence. And that is Alex smiles. So now let us proceed with the dependent clause. So when we say dependent clause, it cannot function on its own because it leaves an idea or thought unfinished. It is also called a subordinate clause. These help the independent clauses complete the sentence. So alone, it cannot form a complete sentence. The subordinators do the work of connecting the dependent clause to another clause to complete the sentence. So in each of the dependent clauses, the first word is a subordinator. So subordinators include the relative pronouns and subordinating conjunctions. So these are some subordinate clauses introduced by relative pronouns. We have who, whom, that, which, what, and whose. And some by subordinating conjunctions. We have although, because, if, unless, when, and etc. Subordinate clauses function in sentences as adjectives, nouns, and adverbs. So we have here examples. When I was dating Dino, I had an accident. So the clause when I was dating Dino is what we called a dependent clause because it has a subordinating conjunction which is when. And this completes the sentence, I had an accident. When I was dating Dino, I had an accident. Where I had an accident here is an independent clause. The next sentence that we have is, I know the man who stole the watch. So which of these clauses is a dependent clause? You're right. So in this sentence, who stole the watch is the dependent clause. Where I know the man is an independent clause. Why? Because who stole the watch has a relative pronoun who, which satisfies a dependent clause. Next, he bought a car which was too expensive. So which of these two clauses is a dependent one? You're right. Which was too expensive is a dependent clause, while he bought a car is an independent clause. And the last one, I know that he cannot do it. So in this sentence, that he cannot do it is the dependent clause and I know is the independent clause. So these two sentences have relative pronouns which and that, which satisfies the definition of a dependent clause. Another, he does not know where he was born. So the dependent clause here is where he was born because it has a subordinating conjunction where, which satisfies a dependent clause. And we have another sentence here, if you don't eat, I won't go. In this sentence, we have if you don't eat to be our dependent clause and I won't go to be our independent clause. Lastly, we have he is a very talented player though he is out of form. In this sentence, we have though he is out of form as our dependent clause and he is a very talented player as our independent clause. Dependent clauses are divided into three types and they are adjective clause, noun clause, and adverbial clause. So when we say adjective clause, it is a dependent clause that modifies a noun. Basically, adjective clauses have similar qualities as adjectives that are of modifying nouns and hence the name adjective clause. These are also called relative clauses and they usually sit right after the nouns they modify. So let us look at these examples. The first one, I'm looking for the red book that went missing last week. So we have here the underlined group of words which was introduced by the relative pronoun that, which modifies the noun or the red book. Next, Finn is asking for the shoes which used to belong to his dad. Which used to belong to his dad is the dependent clause in the sentence because it is introduced by the relative pronoun which that modifies the noun shoes. Next, you there, who is sitting quietly at the corner, come here and lead the class out. The clause who is sitting quietly at the corner is the dependent clause in the sentence which modifies the subject you. Now let's proceed with the noun clause. Dependent clauses acting as nouns in sentences are called noun clause or nominal clauses. These often start with how, that, and other WH words such as what, who, where, when, why, which, whose, and whom, if, whether, and etc. Examples: I like what I hear. You need to express that it's crossing a line for you. He knows how things work around here. What I hear that it's crossing a line for you, how things work around here, are clauses acting as a noun in a sentence. Now let's proceed with the adverbial clause. By definition, these are dependent clauses acting as adverbs. It means that these clauses have the power to modify verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. Examples: Alice did the dishes till her legs gave up. Tina ran to the point of painting vehemently. I went through the book at a lightning speed. The clauses till her legs gave up, to the point of painting vehemently, and at a lightning speed modifies a verb. That is why these clauses are called adverbial clause. Next, we have principal clause. These have a subject, noun or pronoun, finite verb, and an object and make full sentences that can stand alone or act as the main part of any complex or compound sentence. Independent and principal clauses are functionally the same but named from different perspectives. Examples: I know that boy. He can jog every morning. Robin fishes like a pro. The clauses I know, he can jog, Robin fishes are the clauses that can stand alone in a sentence. That is why they are called the principal clauses. Next, we have the coordinate clause. Two or more similarly important independent clauses joined by coordinating conjunctions such as and, or, but, and etc. in terms of compound sentences are called coordinate clauses. Examples: I like taking photos and he loves posing for them. The clauses I like taking photos and he loves posing for them are two independent clauses which are joined by the coordinating conjunction and. Next, you prefer flying, but she always wants to take a bus. The clauses you prefer flying and she always wants to take a bus are two independent clauses which are joined by the coordinating conjunction but. Lastly, we are going to visit Terry, or he is coming over. The clauses We are going to visit Terry, and he is coming over are two independent clauses in the sentence, which are joined by the coordinating conjunction or. The last type of clause that we are going to discuss here is the non-finite clause. Non-finite clause contain a participle or an infinitive verb that makes the subject and verb evident even though hidden. In terms of participle, the participial phrase takes place of the subject or object of the sentence. Examples: he saw the boy who was staring out of the window. She is the first person who is to enter the office. Hearing the fireworks, the children jumped up. Staring out of the window, to enter the office, and hearing the fireworks are the infinitive verb of these sentences, which takes place of the subject. I hope you learned a lot from our topic, which is all about clauses. Thank you.